All right, let's see. Are we live? Is it showing?
Yeah, it says live. I've got live in the corner.
Okay, let me make sure that it's public and that Facebook isn't doing its whatever it does whenever it tries to like only show to one person. This is.
And then should we share it to our page as well?
Yeah, can you guys share it to your pages if you don't mind, or wherever you want to in your groups? Or hey, oh yes, we are live. Woohoo! Awesome.
How do you share? Just click on share screen.
Yeah, if you go to if you go to my page, Sharnael Wolverton, then you can just share it to your page. Jason, did you share it to your page?
I'm sharing it right now, in fact, because I have to get out of the whole one thing to get into another. Here we go.
Awesome. Okay. Fabulous. Facebook's working. Thanks, Julie. All right. So my name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton-Sehon. I'm here with Jason Q for our normal 7 o'clock show. We actually have a special panel here today. We're still going to be on tonight at 7, but today we have some very, very special guests, Magenta and Laura Eisenhower. Laura and I have known each other for a while, and I actually met you, Magenta, not officially, but found out about you when I met Laura for the first time. I think it was 3 years ago. I lose on anyway, but and Jason is just meeting both of you. So Jason, here you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's just very, very, very nice to meet both of you.
Awesome. So I had something happen earlier this week that I wanted to start out with, kind of. And by the way, you guys, while we are here, if you guys please can share and tag and just get this out so whoever can be watching it can be watching it. But I wanted to start with something that happened earlier this week. I actually woke up and I heard a stitch in 9 a stitch in time saves 9. And it was very, very significant. And then I actually saw on a piece of paper, handwritten, it's period, the period, thought, period, that period counts. And, my first thought was Magenta because of her thing with the 9. And, I don't know anything about that 100%. I know ish. And I have all of her books. I just got them all in. And you guys should all go get them. I haven't read them all yet, but they're here. And I haven't even reached out to her and sent it, and I posted it. And when I looked up, she said my interpretation would be the best. And also, I'm still looking to I look at all synchronicities and the fact that I was going to already have her here, and so I thought that would be a good topic to at least start with. But a stitch had to do with a loophole. And even something going into a needle, which I thought was interesting because Sasha just did a video having to do with putting something through a needle and the eye of a needle and, the significance of that. But a stitch in time, if you're looking at a stitch, it's a loop or a DNA or a sine wave. And then time saves 9. 9 meaning 9 and 9 meaning humanity, philanthropy, charity, human service, universal service, all of that. So for me, my interpretation, which is just my opinion, was that our DNA and what we're doing and the technology within us had this opportunity to do something now. I guess the saying, a stitch in time saves 9, means do something now before it's too late. Like, here's your time to do something. Do it before it's so out of hand that it's not fixable. And one of the definitions too about stitch had to do with mending, to mend something, to restore it. And so I really felt like that, coupled with it's our thoughts that matter, that count meaning measured. We're all measurable. Our biofield is measured, and what we're thinking about and the importance of what we're thinking about actually is creating and setting the timeline for where we are. And there are so many big opportunities for the different timelines. And my hope is that we can keep a loving, beautiful timeline. And also would love to hear what you have to say about this, Magenta, because you're just you and your nines. And I would love to know what you know, what your 2 cents is about all this. And let's just kick it off here.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me to join you guys today. Lovely to be here. I think it's amazing how we pick these things up and how we hear very clearly sentences and words and songs, especially on just waking. That's very, very common when you're in that brainwave state between the sleep and the wake state. And as I said to you when I messaged you, obviously the person who receives the message is absolutely the best interpreter. But obviously I realize you would think of me because of the 9. So for me, a stitch in time saves 9. Obviously, what I'm feeling is there's partly a personal message for you that isn't global. This is what I'm feeling, but it's a smaller part of the message. So I'm looking at around 20%. This is to do with you and the way you are with your time and your management, and a message for you personally, around 20%. The rest of this is a global message, obviously. And I think A Stitch in Time Saves 9 is talking about the acceleration that we're going through right now, the quickening, the fact that everything is speeding up. The 9, the actual message of the 9 ultimately is about completion. And we are reaching planetary completion. So if you look at A Stitch in Time, this is an acceleration, an accelerated quickening of time into the completion. So that's everything that is happening now. 9 represents so much more. It's the 0 point, the central point, because if you look at 9, there is no number higher than 9, because once you go past 9, you're back to 1 again. So it's, if you look at 1 and 0 as the 0 and the oneness, the 9 is the other aspect to that, if you're looking at geometry. So there's a lot in that message. So 80% global, 20% personal, quickening, acceleration into completion, and that you're part of it, and everything that you're doing is part of it. And more, I mean, I could talk about that forever, but
Awesome. What do you think, Laura? Where you're at?
Yeah, I think it's very well explained, of course, by Magenta, and just Stitch in Time saves 9. I mean, 9 also represents the crone and the hermit and wisdom. And we are co-creating this timeline, and every moment that we exist, we are being creative with our words, with our actions, with our thought forms. And so the way we're participating in this whole deal affects the collective consciousness as well. So that could be a number of completion connected to the collective as well. I mean, there's all sorts of things I could kind of, think of in terms of that, but it just brings me into that place of mindfulness. What are we weaving? What are we integrating into the physical plane? Where have we been able to emerge from the cave or the underworld, so to speak, with that wisdom, so that we can navigate this journey from higher awareness instead of fight or flight or lower mental faculties that get easily manipulated and controlled. So that's kind of my 2 cents.
Awesome. Jason, what you think? I know you got a lot, probably.
Well, I actually don't. It's the whole like with the whole 9, the completion of the Tesla code, the 369, and we've gone over a lot of the things that the 9 can actually pertain to, but like Magenta said, once we hit 9, once it hits 10, there's no 10, the 0 drops off, and then it, goes ahead and restarts again. But the thing about it with the DNA and everything like that, with it getting all upgraded and everything like that, it's really going to be something beyond magical, and it's going to change. I mean, it's going to literally change the world, and it's going to change the world how everybody perceives it, and it's going to get all of this negativity that people have, and it's just going to get completely rid of it, because I can't stand this whole 3D construct anymore. And it gets to the point where, you want to hurry up, but you also want others to, you want others to learn. And if you just want to learn what's coming up, well, then you're actually defeating your purpose. Because with why we're here, this final time, we're here to learn all of the past and the true history. Because when I've looked at, like, when I've done research and everything like that, when all of us together, when we've all collectively, come together, and our research, just like, it's almost like a vacuum of energy, and it all goes to the collective. So once we get more and more into the collective, once people understand that we are energy, we are, we're a soul, we're a soul inside of a vehicle. And it really does make everything just that much more magical, that we're just not some meat suit just like that, but we're an entity that can upgrade on its own. We have creativity. We can actually, we could be creative, and we have an imagination. And that's the sad part is that they've taken away so many children's imaginations, and given them just technology, giving them what they have to think. So it's going to be nice going back to how things were. Even though we're going ahead, we need to revert back to how, like our childhood was. I'm sure, we're all about the same age, and our childhood was nothing like it is today. We actually, we spent all our days, imagining, creating, being kids, so it's going to be beyond magical and wonderful. And I just, being on a panel with, all of you lovely ladies, and just the sheer knowledge that each one of you have, it's just mind blowing. It's so humbling that, it's almost like I'm a student here, and I want to learn. So,
Awesome.
So I cannot wait.
Awesome.
Well, I agree. I love you bringing in the whole child piece and playing, because a friend of mine, Robert Stevens, he always says, just play for no reason. Whenever you get stuck, whenever you get tired, whenever you're feeling overwhelmed or whatever, just stop what you're doing and get out of that energy and get into play again, and use that creative power, and to set your mind on imaging something else, like to imagination. Let's image not just the nation, but the world. And playing for no reason. And I love that you brought up that we have the technology. The technology isn't here. We are self-healers, not just within these cells and this skin, but as a collective, we are healing. And golly, uh-oh, do you hear that echo?
Oh, yep.
Is that echoing, you guys? We do have the opportunity. We have the technology to resurrect, to heal, to use remote healing and remote thinking, and to help one another. And our biofields are really, really powerful. It's just where we are, and to go back and remember that, and then use all of those tools together collectively, we can actually do something. And I really do hope that people are waking up and seeing. Magenta, I'd love to hear like where you're at and what you've been getting most recently, just to keep everyone up, because I know there's a lot of people that you have in your audience, but I'm introducing you to a lot of people who may not be familiar. So maybe give us a little bit of background, because you are from another country and you're a big Trump person, not just because of whatever, but I actually did make a comment with Jason on another show the other night about you and your love and understanding of Trump and who he is, and how that might not necessarily be cool living where you live, you know. And I got so much hate about it. And I was just like, I'm not saying that you thought that or that it isn't cool. I'm saying it couldn't be, you know, maybe it wouldn't be, you know, I don't know. I used to live over there where you live, and, you know, maybe patriotism isn't for the United States wasn't necessarily, you know, loved as much, at least when I was there. I don't know how it is now, and maybe everything has changed in this wake up. But, and that was just my experience. But for you to step out as you have way before, and you were speaking about Trump and about just freedom and love and all of this way before. So I'd love to just, you know, if you could give a little background and explain where that comes from and where you're at, and anything that you've been getting here recently about where we are.
So here in the UK, I think up until this, are we speaking in code, or is it okay to say?
Oh, yes, thank you. Let's be code.
Okay. The competition in America, I don't think that was such a big thing in the minds of the people in the UK up until this competition. Yes, there were a few that follow politics of all kinds, but obviously many people were very much involved this time. Number one, it was all over the media, but there are people that are aware because of what was going on with the whole sort of locking down situation. People are looking for answers everywhere in places that they didn't before. Is it cool to like Trump in this country? To be honest with you, I think it's exactly the same as it would be in the US. We have got a complete mirror from you guys, and that division that you have over there is the same here. And the predominant everyday person who follows mainstream media, who believes in the whole situation with the pathogens and the locking down, they would be the same people that would predominantly not be following someone like Trump, because they are reading media and they are viewing media on television, and they are soaking up that false narrative. Anyone who starts to question whether they're questioning any of these things, and many, many people are questioning the whole locking down and the whole pathogen, then they start looking into other things. And then they start realizing that, well, if this isn't true and this isn't true, then maybe the whole story about Trump and the whole competition, maybe that's not true either. So you will find that most aware people, most, not all, but the majority of aware individuals who are aware about the pathogen, aware about the situation, they are also aware about what's going on in America and the competition and about Trump. So it's the same division, and we get the same ridicule over here, and it is spoken about. In fact, it's spoken about so much now that you would think we were an American state. You would think the UK was an American state. You do get the odd people that will say, well, what's that got to do with us? What goes on in the US is nothing to do with us. But the majority of people are incredibly invested in this particular competition this year. Obviously, the majority of people who are following the mainstream believe that Mr. Joe has won. But that's the same in America. So it's a reflection. You ask how I came to all of this. The first competition that I really sort of took note of was with, I don't want to keep saying their name, Mr. O and Mrs. C. HC. Okay, so I didn't really take any notice of the debates leading up to. In fact, the only American competition where I've ever looked at the debates was this one. I completely ignored that one. And it wasn't until, well, it was that night, actually. I was picking up information all night. I'd ignored it because I would look at the television and think, this is rubbish. This isn't something I want to get into. And I'm not political, as I have said again and again and again, even though people completely disagree with me and they think I am. I'm actually not. So I would just turn away. It was just nothing that I wanted to be interested in. And it wasn't until the night of that competition between Mr. O and Mrs. HC that the Nine was speaking to me, telling me how important this was, because it was creating sorry, I've got this wrong. It's Mr. O and Mr. M, wasn't it? So HC came later. Yeah, it was Mr. O and Mr. M. And they were talking to me and they were explaining to me the timeline that would occur if Mr. M was the winner and the timeline that would occur if Mr. O was the winner. And they were showing me the different timelines. And at that time, the Mr. O was the better timeline for those who want to go forward into ascension and awareness and freedom, even though he may not be the right person or candidate at this point. At that time, that was the better timeline because he was, if you will, not part of that original structure, but has become absorbed into it now. But he wasn't part of it then, but he never had the independence and the righteousness for change that, you know, Mr. T has. So when I woke up that morning, I realized, gosh, something massively important has happened that I haven't paid any attention to. And when I saw that Mr. O had won, I was very pleased because I knew the difference between the timelines. And I started talking about that. But it was very, very soon after that I saw, probably within 2 to 3 weeks, that I saw that had been a change. And I could see that Mr. O had been somehow got to. So when it came to 2016 between Mr. T and Mrs. HC, I was much more aware of American competitions and how they affected timelines. But again, I wasn't interested in the debates. I didn't really look at them. And again, I knew nothing about Mr. T other than he was married to Ivana. And I'd seen her in all the glossy magazines and thought, who is this woman? She's everywhere. But that's all I really knew about him and her. And I knew that the name Trump was in all the magazines. It was all over the media. And I just thought it was just some other, Hollywood story that just didn't interest me. So I didn't watch any of the debates at all. I didn't know anything about either candidate, but I knew that there was the winner created a timeline. And I thought, well, I'll do the same thing as I did before and I'll look after. And the 9 were actually telling me as well to not pay any attention until after the competition had taken place. So I didn't lend my energy to that in any way. It was the day after when I saw that Mr. T had won. I thought, right, I better look at these people. So I found a photograph because I read photographs. I read the energy of photographs. I worked with clients for 7 years doing energetic readings. And through the photograph, I can see the matrix of the individual, the energy system, the chakras, and that will tell me their personality, their past, what they've done in their life, what their thoughts are. All of those things. I can see very, very clearly these things from photographs and have been able to do this for many, many years. And I kind of thought everybody could. I was really surprised when I found out years ago that other people didn't see what I was seeing in photos and obviously from the person in front of me. But photos, because it's a snapshot and the energy is still, it gives me a lovely, clean picture. If I can get a good photo and I must see the face and I must see the eyes, and it opens up everything for me. It's just my way of divining. So I looked at Mrs. HC and I thought, when the energy is that negative, it's hard to look at it because what I'm doing is empathizing. So I'm merging my own energy field with the field of the person I'm looking at in order to feel and then see clairvoyantly, and then I will hear things clairaudiently as well from the 9. So when I looked at Mrs. HC, I just thought, oh, goodness. Oh, couldn't look at that for very long. I did tune in a little bit on why it was so bad, and I get images very, very quickly. I get information very quickly. So I realized that she was the groomed princess or queen for that structure, for that negative structure. And she had been groomed since birth to be a political leader. And I was very pleased she hadn't won. But I expected Mr. T to be probably similar, but not as bad, because I thought, well, there can't be that many of that negative level because that's more rare. A lot of the negative structure are not as bad as that. It's terrible. It sounds awful, but that's how it is. So I picked up Mr. T, found his photograph, and I was really, really shocked because I thought, gosh, he's not part of that structure at all. And I'm looking and thinking, well, there's no connection here to that structure other than he knew some of the people that were in the structure and they were around him, but he wasn't tied to the structure. He wasn't assimilated. All the negative individuals have a very closed off, deactivated heart chakra. So when you tune in and feel them empathically, you get a closed off emotion. And any emotion that comes forward will be that of control, as in, you do what I say energy. It's a God complex energy, and it's a closed off heart chakra. And I can spot them very, very quickly. Some people waver between the two, so I need to tune in a bit more. But Mr. T had none of this. His emotions were open. And when I look at somebody who's not part of the negative structure, they're radiating emotional particles out into their field. And the negative structure can't do that. So I can tell them very easily which is which. So Mr. T was radiating these particles outwards. Then I wanted to look more. And I saw this kind of almost like I'm right kind of energy, which might be, if you were to meet someone like that as a friend, some people may find that kind of personality really off-putting. But given the fact that of the situation he was in, what I saw from that very first day is he is not controllable. If anything, he's the opposite. He's got that indigo energy, but he's different to other indigos, but he's got that indigo energy, which is, don't control me. Don't tell me what to do. I know what I need to do, and I will do it. And if he wants advice, he will say, look, I need advice with this. Right. Somebody tries to manipulate him, it's like, don't you dare. And the thing is, that is the first time that someone like that has gone into the structure, because before any of the good individuals who'd got into that position, when they were manipulated, it was like, how do I get out of this? I'm going to have to make a compromise with myself. Maybe I am going to have to be manipulated. And of course, at the time, there wasn't enough support. But Mr. T was totally the right person, because when someone tries to manipulate him or push him into a corner, which we now see very evidently, we've only got to look at a press conference and the way it's happening with Mr. T and with Mrs. K, Kaylee. I mean, you can see it happening. And his energy is very much like, you know, that indigo fire comes in when someone tries to manipulate him. He sees that as an insult. And the thing is, he sees America and the country of America as his garden, as his world, as his responsibility. He loves America. It's like a person to him. It's like his mother and his wife and his daughter. And he loves America so much. And that's where all of this patriot thing came from. But I saw all of this in 2016, the day after he'd won that competition. And it's not really become evident in the sort of public eye how patriotic he is, I think, until later down the line. I know there were many people that saw my video that I made back in 2016, about a week after the competition, telling everyone what I saw. And I had unbelievable backlash. And I had people say, you're crazy. I've followed you for years. I now realize your psychic abilities are way off. Your books are going in the bin and all of this stuff. But then, funnily enough, a year, 2 years, 3 years, and up to now, I have people writing to me saying, when I first saw your video, I thought you were crazy. And I didn't watch you for months afterwards. But I've since woken up to this and that. And I've done research and I've thought, gosh, Magenta Pixie, she was right. And the night told me the other day how many people that I had woken up to this truth, and how many actually would go and cast their piece of paper based on what they heard from me. And I'm in England and I'm invested in this situation because I know it's to do with our future. I can't cast my own piece of paper. So I'm very happy that many people did cast their piece of paper, because it's kind of like I did that, even though those pieces of paper have not been acknowledged yet.
Yes,
they will be. They will be. So that's everything as to where I have been up till now. And what do I see coming? Justice will be done. I've spoken about 2 days before this competition, I was sat in the jacuzzi, the whirlpool, hot tub, down at my leisure centre, and I pick up a lot when I'm in water. And I saw all of these red pieces of paper swimming around me. And I was thinking, wow, it's everything I thought. This is a landslide. And I sat back and I was very happy to see all these red pieces of paper. And they were there floating around me for quite a while. And then I saw them flip, literally flip over to blue. And I thought, what's happening? And they were all flipping over. And I thought, oh my goodness, they're going to change the actual red to the blue somehow. And I realized what was going to happen before. That was like 1 or 2 nights before I realized that was going to happen. But at the time I did say, I tried to change them back to red on my own. I tried to visualize them going red again because I knew how important it was for our future, for humanity, but they wouldn't. And I realized I don't have the power to change them back red.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to the 9, what can we do? And then they showed me, but it would take time, that they would be blue in the minds of the people for a while. And then eventually they would start to go red. And I said, how do they go red? And they said, the star seeds turn them red. Well, that means the aware people, the patriots. And I started to see them go red again about 3 days ago. It was just after the recent where the certification is given for Mr. B. So within hours of that certification being given for Mr. B, I saw these go red because I think the certification for Mr. B has pushed the truth even more. I'm not sure quite how, but all I know is that there is one law that everybody believes in. There is a structure that everyone believes in. So if you're following that structure, that the way it's always been for years and years and years, you're going to look at the structure and think, well, there's no way that Mr. T, it's done now. It's Mr. B and that's it. There's nothing we can do. But there's this other structure, and that's to do with the Constitution. And that's coming to the fore, and that coming to the fore will actually change everything. And all false structures will start to fall, not just in the US, but across the world. And we are right in the middle of that right now. And we're in this portal between the 12/12 into the 21st, the solstice. And that's this huge, I think, Jason, you were saying, you were calling this, you gave this you said some word that absolutely encapsulates what this time is, like did you say vacuum or something like that we're in? And it's like manifestation now is so instantaneous, and it's the star seeds that are the ones that hold the cohesion for that manifestation, and they're the ones with the open hearts, and they're the ones that are manifesting truth and integrity and sovereignty, and everything that matches that will fall into place. But it isn't going to be this easy ride. It's not, well, when I say not easy, for those who are aware, it actually won't be, it will be easy, because the aware individuals know about truth, and they're connected to sovereignty, and they stand in their own sovereignty. It's almost like watching a show play out, and they know the outcome and they're going to enjoy the ride. But for those who perhaps are not in that place and are not quite cohesive and haven't found their sovereignty, then it's a difficult ride for them. And it's very exciting what's coming from now into the solstice, and then over the Christmas period and into 2021 up to the spring. There's so much going on to do with this, and other countries have all got their things going on, because it's all the same energy. It's all about truth, sovereignty, the great reveal of what has been hidden, the downfall of the negative structure, and the rise of the meek. The meek shall inherit the earth. These are the new earth individuals that have the open hearts. So all of that pattern is playing out across the planet, and the central point of that is America.
Yes, and going through the eye of a needle, we know that that's a little tiny space, and if we have any baggage whatsoever, it's time to like put all that aside and actually just get in union and be able to even fit through there. It's a time of looking at ourselves and giving that mending part of what we were saying earlier, mending ourselves, mending each other, forgiving ourselves, forgiving one another, making amends, and to be able to even get through the needle. It's like there's a slim pickings here. There might be a little bit of a slim pickings, but yeah, there's people who are commenting about Jason being asleep. So Jason, go get some coffee. and why we're on here, if you notice the tubs back there behind him, he stays up researching all night long. He's got like 70,000 pieces of documents that he finds in random places about all this stuff that's going on. And so, yeah, he did get a little bit of sleep, but not so much. So say what? Your mic is off, bro. Oh, we can't hear you. Wait. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm gonna go grab a cup of coffee.
Laura,
I just been at it. I mean, 4 hours of sleep, over
like 3 days, 5 days or something. Sorry.
Yeah.
So Laura, I'd love to hear your feedback on where you think where we are in this, and because I haven't even actually talked to you or been able to look at what you've been saying. I know you've doing podcasts like all of us, but I would love to hear where you're at and catch up. Nothing like catching up when we can't even get on the phone with each other because we're whatever. But yeah, get your mic and let me hear where you're at.
Well, yeah, we're coming up to the solstice. We're just wrapping up a passage through Ophiuchus, the 13th sign between Scorpio and Sagittarius. It kind of overlays between those two signs. And it's all about wound healing and the pouring of the healing waters from the mother into the earth, and helping to kind of lift up even the fallen angelics and all those that kind of were taken down by these greater galactic wars. It just represents the cleansing of our blood, our breath, and mitochondrial DNA, because the 13th sign connects with the mitochondrial DNA and the ether in the fifth element. So this is something that we haven't really experienced until 2010. We haven't experienced this particular passage in thousands and thousands of years. And it's basically been correcting the reversals, that like the dark mother reversals and the manipulation of the dodecahedron platonic solid and the earth grids to create sort of a dissension or a degradation of the human race instead of ascension. And of course, as we see the deep state doing all that it can to kind of drag us down and keep us in those kind of reversals, in the fear, in the anxiety, in the vulnerability to being heavily manipulated because our livelihoods are at stake. You know, how they're manipulating people with their businesses and can't go back to work unless you have a shooter. And just, yeah, all this massive manipulation that's really lighting up people's survival. So it's very difficult to think intuitively when you're in a survival space and when you're worried about putting food on the table. But despite all that, in the pressure or being pushed to the edge, community is growing, awakening is happening. People are coming together more to join forces, to not comply, and to maybe figure out a way to pull resources together in order to be able to make it through this particular passage. So this is a really gnarly kind of bumpy time. We've got a lot breathing down our neck that makes it very difficult on a day-to-day basis to process, where this is all heading. But on a much larger picture, intuitive level, absolutely, we are moving in the direction of human advancement and ascension. So, of course, being the timing that we're in, they want to do things to modify us. And as we know with the shooter thing, we have to be very on top of all of that. People need to inform themselves, get educated, and not compromise themselves for the sake of a paycheck, for the sake of remedying whatever fears or anxieties. Because I know most people, or a lot of people, fear the shot much more than the virus. It's like, and the survival stats are much higher for this pathogen thing. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So that's kind of the weird part of this passage. I think that is kind of at the tippy top right there. And then, of course, the deep state being the CCP. So, and how that's all merged. And that's become like this large entity that is threatening the whole planet with the NWO. So this passage to me is about moving into liberation, moving into higher vibration, being revolutionary, being all about, personal sovereignty and having that spread, because that needs to grow. And as we move into 2021 and Saturn makes a challenging aspect of the planet Uranus, which represents liberation, connection with the higher mind. It's an electrical energy that helps to activate people, helps them to have those downloads and epiphanies that bring them into a great state of clarity and knowingness, and in alignment with these greater universal forces of synchronicity that help people to come together, that belong together, just all those, higher energetics that helps us to thrive and advance ourselves, and also know how to be resourceful and inventive in the face of maybe having some things taken away from us, or having things fall to the wayside because it's not sustainable anymore. We can't really exist in a matrix that's crumbling, and still hold on to a lot of the things that we ended up working with or attaching ourselves to. So we have to be very resourceful, willing to bounce back, kind of look at it like, you just moved. You're moving to another country in a sort of metaphorical way, or it's like the ability to kind of let go of it all and not feel poverty, lack, scarcity, fear, and anxiety, and begin to awaken those dormant strands of DNA and our greater creative capacity to manifest abundance and manifest all sorts of things without having to have it handed to us from the outer system that is infiltrated in every sector that's compromising the people that are working for it. So we need to just say, okay, we're going to starve this instead of hanging on to it for dear life with fear and anxiety and compromising ourselves with these shots, and move over into a completely different energetic. So our creative energy is engaged in what we want to see happen, instead of, trying to wrestle this thing that's not going to really ease up unless we see, justice happen, and we see this administration in a more accelerated way begin to be what it should be and what it rightfully won. And I agree with everything Magenta said. So this next year is really about how these dark forces are going to still try and grab at our ankles as we try and bust free. The Saturn square, Saturn's all about, in the shadow side of Saturn, not the higher octaves, which is more about self-mastery. The lower Saturn is the tyranny, the control, the dark Saturn, the history of that dark Saturn, the Saturn moon matrix, which is beginning to crumble away. That programming is beginning to fall away. But there's a polarization because some people are holding on for dear life. And those are the impossible people to talk to that are cheering on their enslavement. They're literally cheering on their enslavement. They're like, and they're making everybody else who is a sovereign being feel like these little guilt tactics, or these, and so everything about communication is going through kind of a purification. So next year, it's like, it depends on the person and where they're at, but claim the freedom, let go of the matrix stuff, because it's not going to want to let you go. And we have quite a battle in front of us on that level, but it's if we can keep our vibration in the higher dimensions, we won't be drained by it. We won't be entangled into it.
When is Saturn going to be out the way? Like, how long does this take? I'm curious.
So probably around 2022, 2023, Saturn and its square with Uranus will dissipate. Then we're going to be dealing with Pluto moving into Aquarius, and then we're full on in the Aquarian age. So now we got Jupiter, Saturn moving into Aquarius. Pluto is on its way. Uranus is still going to be in Taurus, which is an earth sign, which allows like these great changes to happen on an earth physical level. And that's why everything, that means like a mass global awakening is causing, of course, the acceleration and the strengthening of the desire to create that great reset. So one kind of pushes the other. We have to just stand on the right side of it all and just, do our best. The freakiest thing though, is that I think, are these shots, and that's almost like the next thing ahead of us. And I'm curious what you guys think of T talking about these things.
Did you see what he said? He said today, all-time stock market high, the V and the V rollout are getting the best reviews, moving along very well. Get those quote shots, everyone. Also, stimulus looking very good. He put shots in quotes. Jason, I'd love to hear what you have to say about all of this.
Okay, I went and grabbed that document that I have. That it's like a 171-page dossier, and it was written in June 10th of 2009, and it was from an FBI officer submitted it to Vienna in Austria, and what it is it is a complete outline, and I'll make sure you ladies get a copy as well. it's all the evidence that all of the V's are actually bio W's, like, you know. I'm trying to do as good a code as I can. But like Laura was saying, people choosing to take this, they don't understand that it is against our constitutional right to take this. And there was actually a judge that actually deemed it. He wrote a 34-page decision on why it is unconstitutional. And this was back in 2004, 2005. And the name of the judge was Emmett G. Sullivan. So when you think about everything that General Flynn and what he's been under, and why they never replaced the judge, or why everybody's all mad at the judge, well, he actually was he was on the side of the Army, because they wanted to give the V for the anthrax, and a lot of the soldiers were developing that Gulf War syndrome when they were coming back. They were getting sick and everything. So when they started looking like further deep into it, they noticed that the companies that were creating these V's, they were like putting some of the, because you have your bird, you have your pig, and then you have your human. Well, the thing is, like, if you think about it, with bird, pig, human, how would they all come together? So that right there says that it's made in the lab. And when they caught on to this, and they really, there were so many, people that were damaged, and like, PTSD, and the suicide rate, and what the suicide rate is actually a part of was these V's, because it gets into your brain and everything, and it actually it tells you. I mean, it actually, like, eats at your free will, and you naturally, because they cannot have you, they can't force you to do stuff like that. They, meaning the dark forces. So what they could do is they could actually, get into your mind and force, have you, make your own choice, because everything's about freedom of choice. And because of karmic law, they are not allowed to, physically do anything to you. And there's this whole packet when they start talking about the Nuremberg trials back in the 40s, early 50s. And the sad part is this was all signed off by GWB and President O. They actually sold us out and collected a lot of money in order to do this. And we're talking like, $1.5 billion. And so this right here, it actually goes, they went to Los Alamos, and they did a flu simulation, right? Dr. Alexander Jones did. And this was back in 2009. And it even has the dates in here where they started Monday, April 20th, and they go every Monday, Monday, April 20th, Monday, April 7th, or Monday, April 8th, and then just go on down the line. Well, when you look at that, when you compare that calendar to our calendar this year, it's the exact same calendar, because April 20th did fall on a Monday this year. And when they have like the waves, like you have a peak, and then you'll have this, you'll have it go down low, and then there's another one, that gets instituted. Well, when they did this, the whole pan, the pan D and going to stage 6, there was a reason behind that. Because and this was all signed by, our quote unquote previous leaders, the two of them. And if it does go to that, like a P6, P level 6, that means that the UN can actually come here and stand our military down and go ahead and take over. Now, the problem, well, how this all started was, back with Laura's grandfather or great grandfather. It was grandfather, great grandfather, and when Valiant Thor, came with the whole Orion Cube, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff was pretty much getting chippy with Valiant Thor, and he was going to bring all the cures and help us as a civilization, because they knew that we were going to destroy ourselves via the misuse of atomic energy, and that we were actually, you had a group that was all pro humanity, pro American, but then you had a group, the complex, that was all about infiltration, infiltration over invasion, and they infiltrated some of these groups, like M12. So when they mirrored it with the Nuremberg with our rights, they actually have the rights in here that it's like it's called the Declaration of Human Rights, or Declaration of Independence with the human rights. It's like 5 of them, and one of them, the 5th one, is with the tyrannical government. We have the right to overthrow a tyrannical government. So that's pretty much what we need to do. The problem is that they don't teach the Constitution in school anymore. They don't educate them anymore in any of this. And that's why I look at things. I know I don't have any children, but I know that if parents homeschool their children, that we can actually get a better understanding of what they're learning, and they don't have to go out and get these poisons. Because the really sad part is that the V's, you would think that the V's, if they go anywhere, that they would be able to, if anybody needed them in the world, that you would be able to give them to them. Well, there's 5 countries that they're not allowed to, just due to the fact that these V's can be used as and when you really think about that, that's not good. That means that we are giving our people these weapons, and yet it's okay, because they just say, okay, roll up your arm, boom.
And
they don't tell you exactly.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah, and that's the big thing, is consent. Because if you do not give consent, then they cannot give it to you. Because it's under universal law, that's a big no-no. So these a lot of these doctors, they really need to because it's like, not all doctors are bad, just like not all and any group, you're gonna have your good, you're gonna have your bad, just like with the Chinese, you're gonna have your CCPs, and then you're gonna have the dragon families. It's just, there is night and day, yin and yang. You're gonna have everything has to be about balance. Without balance, you have nothing. So when people at home sitting there thinking how bad it's going to get, they also have to understand to themselves that with as much bad as there is in the world, there's going to be that much good, if not better. Because we're now going to be entering the golden age, where all the technologies will be released, all the healing will be released, all the cures will be released. And that's why, they pretty much did the good old 911. And they did not want the NSA, the no such agency. That's what it's pretty much defined to as in there. They did not want that to roll out because they did not want us to be at an equal with everyone. They're always looking for division. They always want us divided. They always want you not liking them, them not liking you. And we need to just understand we can only do this if we come together. That's it. That's why, all the reams of dreams and totes of notes. This is a product of all of our knowledge, all of our work. I'm just a secretary, and I like it like that because it destroys all ego. And I refuse to have any ego in this. I refuse to want to be famous in this. And because with some of the things that has happened in this, who would want fame? So we need to really, everybody's like, they can't wait for executions and everything. I'm like, no, I don't care about the executions. I care about the positive that's going to come out of this, because what the executions, everything that's going to take you down that negative, it's going to dip you right back down to the negative timeline. And you're going to play hell trying to get back. If we all stay together and we all stay on the positive timeline and understand that whatever is done, but we have the opportunity to fix what happened and to go forward as one. Because if others are not liking this person because of their skin color, well, as Laura would know, what are they going to say when, you have a 9-foot praying mantis walking up your driveway that's going to heal your whole family? But the American way is that they shoot first and then ask later. It's like, no, not at all. You need stick your hand out, go for a handshake if you can, because some, you don't want to, touch or make contact with. But you also have to understand that the same source that created them created us. And we are just as funny looking to them as we look to them. We are not the smartest people here at all. We're the dumbest ones in the galaxy. And like Pixie said, that we are the star people. We were meant to be the celestial beings. And that's why, the Mr. T, he is a quasar. So, I mean, he's a higher form of a star person. And you have, MT, and she's an ultra super female. So they're here to help us. They're here to save us from ourselves. And once you realize that there are individuals out there that are of higher being, that are willing to put it all on the line and save us from ourselves and do it for free, it's so much disrespect that it's sad. Because every other president you may not like the person, but we gave them respect. And you want to respect the office. But now they've made such a, the previous few, they've done so many wheeling and dealings that, I mean, it's insane to even think that. That's why, we need somebody to come in and, just cut it all out. And to have people disrespect Mr. T like they do, that's a direct shot at us as well, because we support him. We support everything that he does. Now, do we believe that he did all this in 4 years? I'm still in shock, but he did. He did it by coming together as a team and completing the task at hand. Now, it's happened over decades, but if they're willing to do this to save us, the least you could do is show respect. Now, it's sad that the media has as stupid as low as they've done, but we need to get rid of them as well. Because we do know all of this. You know, we've known it forever because we're biologically immortal entities. You know, we've just been over and over and over again. There's no more over and over again. You know, it's time for us to go. And I'll be the first one to say, I'm ready to go. You know.
That was awesome. Good. That's good, Jason. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. We have just a few minutes here. Do you have any closing words from each of you? Magenta, if you can start. Oh, your mic again. Sorry. Yep.
I said yes. I've always got words. So I'll try and be quick if we've come to an end. So what we were saying about what you're calling the V, which I'm calling Maxine, giving her a name, that personality, a name. So I'm told that the mass bringing out of this Maxine, what it's classed as, if everybody were to take it or a large group were to take it, is I'll try and say this in code, an ELE. Okay, so if you just ELE, if you just break down the word ELE into letters, ELE, ELE. Okay, I don't say it, so people will have to go and find out what that is, but it's not an ELE on a physical level. If you get what I'm saying, this is a classed from the universe, from the cosmos. Sorry, I know you're looking really confused with what I'm saying. Okay, let me try and think of something else. So ELE, and the last word is event. ELE, event. Have you got what I'm saying? Yeah, you have. If you still haven't, Jason, might you think of a different word to explain that without saying it? Because it's, yeah. Okay, so it's not that at a physical level. We know that as something that would physically end the party and end the guests of the party if the party's the planet. Okay, it's not that physically, but cosmically, from the higher dimensional perspective, it's classed as that because it's on the soul level. Because what it does is it separates spirit soul from physical body. Now, that's a metaphor. It doesn't really separate the soul from the body. That isn't possible. But what it does is it pushes dormant the ability within the body to flow crystalline light and flow plasma light. So as you're going through an ascension experience and moving from a carbon-based molecular structure to a crystalline-based molecular structure, it stops that process. So you'll still be physically alive, but it's classed as an ELE if it happens across the planet, because that isn't life. It is not evolution and growth, and it's not where we are destined to go. So what I'm saying is it won't be allowed.
You're saying
to happen. And that again is a metaphor.
That the ELE is going to be allowed?
It will not be allowed to happen, but it isn't really that it won't be allowed. It's not like there's this being saying, no, you can't do that. What the truth of the matter is, the amount of individuals who've already started to flow and activate the crystalline light have got to a critical mass with that frequency, taking this entire dimension into that frequency. Therefore, to move many others into a place where they're in complete opposition to that frequency cannot occur in our reality. But on the way to that, we are going through a bifurcation, a choice. So there are those that are choosing to stay sovereign and free and allow themselves to flow crystalline light and not be cut off from source. If you look at that film, The Golden Compass, His Dark Materials, Philip Pullman, the children are separated from their demon, their animal totem. It's the same thing. That's metaphor for what is happening. But you have these other individuals who are misled by what they think is true to make a decision. And as Jason was saying, they have to make the decision themselves. It has to be their choice. The negative groups cannot just do things. You have to authorize them. So all of those that take the negative path are actually making the choice and giving their authorization. However, what could occur, there are multiple timelines on how this will play out, but the most probable is there will be people that make that choice and then realize, once everything starts to be revealed, that they made a choice that they regret. They will then move away from that negative fork in that bifurcation and will come into the ascension positive, which is why there are so many healers and so many individuals that can assist them. The situation with the Maxine is so complex. You have psychics out there, really well-known psychics, that are saying there is no Maxine at all. It's all just one great big placebo pretend. You've got other people that are saying, yes, there is, and it's a bio W, like Jason said. You have other people that are saying, well, yes, it's really, really harmful, but you can completely detox from it. So once you've taken it, it's okay. You can sit and meditate on rainbows and unicorns and you'll detox it from your body. So there are lots and lots of information flying around and people latching on to this belief and that belief. It's a bit of all of those things, as it always is. We are looking at a convergence. So every thought that you have, every belief you hold creates a matching structure, especially if you are cohesive in your ascension. You're adding to that reality and that play out. And you asked why Mr. T is pushing this. So there's a lot going on here. And I know you said to speak briefly, but I'll be as quick as I can. Mr. T, if he were not to push this, he would be a big, big fool. Because he needs to stay within, even though he has exposed himself for his beliefs and for what he wants for America, he needs to stay within the narrative that the predominant consciousness holds, okay? Because if he goes too far into the awake individuals, the ascension pathway, and he will leave behind huge groups of individuals. They'll think he's lost the plot and gone crazy. Yes, there are people who already think that, but I'm talking about those who support him. So he's got to follow that. So he knows that there are people out there that are patriots and that are aware. He may not be aware of the psychics. I don't know, but he has to trust that when he says something, there are patriots out there that can decode what he's saying. Sorry, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say a good example of that would be when B was on the debate and he started going off on free energy and no more oil and going green, and everybody freaked out. Now we all know that there is a great transition for that, but he lost a ton of people and people are pissed off, especially anybody who's in that industry. So, but that's a good example. I mean, I love that. Keep going. I love what you're saying.
That's a perfect example. Mr. T can't go 50 steps ahead. We may be 50 steps ahead, and the patriots and the aware individuals and the psychics, we know, we see the picture, but he's still dealing with a consciousness of individuals who are good people, but they haven't quite got there yet. So he's got to go with the consciousness, the consensus of the predominant consciousness, and trust that there are those out there who understand what he's doing and can explain what he's doing. We who are trusted with explaining what he is doing, we also have to be careful, because while we want to tell the aware and awakened individuals what he is doing, we have ears and eyes from the negative group that are listening to us. The psychics, especially those who have big followings and are picking up accurate information, they are being scouted, they are being followed. And I can tell you now, myself and Laura, we are two of those individuals that are being watched. So we have to be very, very careful what we say. That's another reason why people ask me why certain platforms haven't been taken down. Well, they would cut their nose off to spite their face, because people like myself and Laura are actually taken seriously by individuals within the negative groups. They don't want to lose our platforms either, because they want to hear what we say. And this isn't the whole group. This is just some of the group. So it's very difficult for us to explain what's happening. So I'm going to try my best But it's all of those things that I said. Mr. T is aware that he has to follow this consensus, follow this consciousness. He's also playing 5D chess at 15 different levels. The whole Maxine, looking at the negative agenda, was not supposed to be released now. It's way ahead of time on their plan. Because of what Jason said about needing permission, what they were waiting for was taking us through these manipulations so that the majority would say, give us a Maxine. Why are you taking so long? Give us a Maxine. Now, they've managed to catch a little bit of that and play the game of, well, this country can have it, but this country can't. And you're first in line, but you're not. And everyone's going to argue about who gets it first. But it wasn't meant to come out yet. They were going to string things along a bit longer. Mr. T, knew that part of the agenda. So by him pushing it, it's forced them to bring their plans in a bit too early. And when they do that, then they trip up because they've lost the original path that they were going to take. So that's one aspect to this. The other, the 9 have told me, and this is where this whole, there is no Maxine, it's just a placebo, it's nothing. That's where this comes in, and it's a complicated one. What they're doing, the 9 have told me, is releasing a mixed batch, a mixed delivery. I'm trying to speak in code. So when you've got a box of this Maxine, some of these Maxines are what Jason called the Bio-W, and some of these Maxines are the nothing, placebo, salt water, all mixed in together. And what we're looking at the moment, according to the 9, is 30% Bio-W and 70% placebo nothingness. Trump is not fully aware of that, but he has some awareness of it, and so do people around him. This is coming in from the negative. The reason they are doing it is if they were to release now, which is too early, it's too early because they haven't gone through the stages, because Mr. T pushed them. They've had to quickly change the plan at the last minute to try to fit to the original plan, and they have several plans to sort of jump to. This is what the 9 meant when they said the second down of the lock variety, the second time you go to the houses, based on the UK, that would not stop what they're doing, but it would make a dent in it, and it would make them have to change their plans, which is what they've had to do. So what they're doing is, if they were to release 100% Bio-W, we are looking at effects of the side variety. Yeah, we are looking at lots and lots and lots of effects of the side variety that will cause too much alarm. They need to keep that down, even though their agenda is to create effects of the side variety, because they're trying to shut down the crystalline flow. So they need to keep the effects of the side variety down at first, because a lot of people, of the mainstream thinkers that are questioning things, which is where a huge majority of humanity is right now, they're in 4D, which is not believing the mainstream fully, thinking it might be true, but questioning. That's 4D. So when those individuals question, what they're doing is stepping back and thinking, well, I won't take the Maxine yet. I'll wait and see what happens with everybody else that takes it first. And if it's okay and everyone's all right, and then they are immune and they don't have any effects of the side variety, then I will take it. A lot of people are there. So they need to keep those people so that they can get to them later. And they also need to make it look like the effects of the side variety are not anything to do with them. So there's a massive, massive complex chain of a situation that is taking them out of the firing line, and potentially they can blame this on other people, and their agenda is to blame it on humanity in some way. So that's all part of this agenda, all wrapped up together. So the plan is at the moment, roll out the 30% Bio-W with 70% placebo, and then see how things go, see how humanity react. And then, because no one knows exactly, even they don't know exactly how humanity will react, because for all they know, it won't even work. However, what the compound they have will work. Those BioWs are BioWs, and under no circumstances should anybody be taking these. So what their plan is to step back and see how things go, and then slowly increase the amount, the percentage of BioW. This is why psychics are saying there is no vaccine, it's a placebo. They're correct, but it's not the full picture. It's a mixed bag. The 9 have told me that this will not work. This will fall apart because there will be Mr. T has got more things up his sleeve. He's constantly putting a spoke in the wheel. He's constantly causing problems for the negative, everything he does. And Jason said about being disrespectful to him and the media. The reason why they are coming across as disrespectful, they're not actually just disrespectful. They're trying to bring him down. So what they're doing is constantly throwing all these questions at him and these accusations at him, so it overloads him. They do it also to the angel Mrs. K with the beautiful blonde hair and the wings. They do it to her as well, but they're dealing with it. Like Jason was saying, these are star beings, these are celestial beings, so they are dealing with this. So it's more than disrespect, and then everybody follows suit and they act disrespectful, but actually it's about bringing him down. It's about hatred, it's about the believing of the mainstream, and those that are in the negative are frightened. They're afraid. They've been afraid since he got in, because he is completely opposite to their agenda. They're way off track. This isn't what they wanted. They didn't want it to be like this. They're trying to bring their plan in, and it's being scuppered. And this whole Maxine thing, the 9 have told me, is more complex than they've even told me. So it's really important. I know it's difficult and you can get confused, but it's really important to take on board what all of the psychics and intuitives are saying. And regarding the detoxing, the 9 have said, yes, you can detox from some of the adjuncts and the ingredients. There is a way that you can detox from that. But when it comes to a merge that is a mutation, a chemical and artificial mutation taking place at the cellular level, DNA, RNA, etc., when it comes to that, that can't be detoxed. However, the level, there's only a certain level that will be able to get to. So yes, some people are at risk of actually having this happen. They're the ones that are bifurcated and are taking this negative decision. But it has to be a low amount of people from a cosmic point of view. An ELE or anything anywhere near an ELE or critical mass for an ELE won't occur and cannot occur in this ascension timeline. So I've tried to say as much as I can in a short period of time. I've probably confused people, but that's the information that I have had.
Awesome. Laura, we've gone past time, but if you guys have anything really quickly, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, I also heard there's the positive military white hat component and how they're able to neutralize the negative effects. And that, yeah, the fact that he's the one that's launched all of this instead of the B guy, if they were to push him in to be that person, even if he didn't last there, it's very good that he got it in just in the nick of time, because, you know, January 20th is coming around. I know that regardless of what happens, justice will take place, but it's very important that he was the front runner of this. I agree. And yeah, I know we got to go, but I have a Q&A on Saturday. You can find out the details on cosmicgaia.org, and it's 3 hours. You can ask any question in regards to any of the presentations I've ever done and what the astrology is all about for the rest of the year and into 2021 and beyond. Just any questions. So I just wanted to put that out there, cosmicgaia.org, and I've got 2 different kind of subscriptions too. So thank you so much for having me, and it's great to be with you guys.
Final words, Jason?
No, I wanted to make sure that they had because I brambled on a lot, so I want to make sure that they had as much time as they could by giving their final thought, and just keep your vibrations high. Patriots in full control. They know exactly what they're doing. They would not do anything to jeopardize anything. They want to help us. They're in this for us, and just make good decisions. Don't accept this V if you don't have to. Don't take it. And if it's because of your job or anything like that, you know what? It doesn't matter. You get a new job. I mean, if they're trying to tell you to, go against the U.S. Constitution because of a paycheck, you know what? You didn't need that job anyway.
Yep. And I'll piggyback on that. Is just literally, if there was ever a time, I mean, I'm still going back to the stitch in time saves 9. I mean, and the eye of the needle, this is the DNA. We're in this cycle. We're in the thread, going back to the stitch. We're in the thread. We're in the sine wave here. And we have the opportunity. We have the upper hand. We have the tech, and we have the technology. And it is like what Laura talked about, the weaving. And I discussed this in one of my videos. What we're thinking about, what we're talking about, what we're feeling is really, really important. Because that's the biggest magnifier, it's the biggest creator, it's the biggest generator. And so if you feel yourself getting out of sorts, ask yourself, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? And walk yourself through it, because I mean, I had a thing this morning, and I'm sure we all have had our things. And it's like, okay, when's the first time I felt this? Okay, because stuff is coming up for us to process. And if we push it down and we throw it away or dismiss it or try to stay busy or do all the things, that we've been programmed to do to not take care of the things, then all that does is just go right back into the DNA to come up another time later. And you're going to go through it another way, whether it's dis-ease or some sort of other scenario that'll show up right in front of you to make you be forced to deal with you again, because everything is you. There is no them. It's all you and me. It's us. We're doing it to ourselves. We're creating. And so why not create something on purpose, with purpose and love, not something by default because you didn't realize you were even creating and your DNA just like said something out there and your emotions and your reactions caused whatever, let's be on purpose. Let's wake up. Let's be conscious of what we're creating. And, like I said, walk yourself through it. When did I feel like this the first time? What am I feeling? Why, if you're sad, just be sad and freaking love yourself through it. And love the hell right out of the sad, get the grief and move it out. If it's pissed off, anger, move it out. I'm pissed. Yeah, just admit it. I'm pissed. I'm pissed about this, and do your thing. Don't do anything crazy. But when we get into any of the other options out there, whether it's being reactive or physical or getting into addictions that can just not deal with anything again to escape, that is not going to help you, and it's not going to help your family, and it's definitely not going to move anything out. So I've looked at everything as just like water through your hands, control what you can, focus on you, look inside. Everything's an inside job. Be aware of what you're thinking, be aware of what you're talking about, be aware of what you're putting your eyes on, what you're letting your ears hear, what you're participating in, what you're engaging in, what you focus on, you make room for. And when we can love ourselves and really get in nature and do all the things that we can to help the technology, to boot the technology. When I say technology, we are the technology. The DNA is here, and we have that capability to rise up above whatever's going on and arm in arm as the weave, like Laura talked about, and be that collective and shift things and be the tipping point to this, you guys. No matter what all the scenarios are where the LEE and the V's and the people, all of that is just whatever it is. And we do have responsibility. We can be responsible. We can be only responsible for us, what we're eating, what we're talking about, what we're thinking, what we're looking at, who we're participating with, what we're investing in our time, as far as like watching this YouTube guy or whatever, or watching some shitty low vibration movie or whatever. It's like, let's collectively agree to really recommit to source code and what God is about in our own time now, and really hold that, because love is giving, but it's not giving up your freedom. You don't just give it away. You have to be wise and responsible with love. Love is giving, and love is also holding the line, holding the image. What image are you holding? What are you holding? Is it love? Are you containing love? And when we stay in that, and we actually participate in that, and we be alive in that, and then we can inspire others, we can ignite others, we can encourage others just by our very presence. We don't even have to talk anyone into anything. We don't even have to try. We just are. And that truth, that authenticity actually sparks and ignites others to come up higher. And maybe they're reactive at first because that DNA is getting cleared and stuff may come up, but that's what a detox is when something's been rooted in there and it's, stagnant or hidden. We use other people to bring up whatever's coming up. And that gives us, again, the gift of being able to move it out. So anything that shows up in your field, if it looks like pain, you know what? Yeah, pain sucks, but pain's a great teacher. And fear, it can be, we got to transmute fear and get back into love and stay in love. And, I love all of you. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being who you are and just holding the torch in all that you've been doing. And I know Jason and I both just respect you guys so much. And for every one of you guys who are out there, we love all of you, and you are all a part of what we're doing too. And, the more that we just continue to remember each other and pray for one another and send good vibes and stay, that's what we can control. Those are the things that we can control. And I use control, loosely, because I don't like that word, but I'm just saying we can be responsible. We are responsible. We are born to create. We're born to love. We are love. You are love. And you're here now on purpose in this exact moment. You picked to be here for love. We came from love. That was our pre-existing condition. We're here as love now. And we can ignite. That's why we're here, to be that indigo starseed, call it whatever you want. But the bottom line is it's source code love. And we have the capability, we have the technology to do it. So love you guys. Tonight, we'll be back with Jason. Hopefully he'll take a big freaking long nap in between.
I actually did. I woke up 20 minutes. That's why I'm like, out of it. I woke up 20 minutes before this. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I gotta get ready. Because usually I'm all good.
Yes.
But I have a question. So Magenta, where can we find you? I mean, is there
yeah, tell us. Good job. Thanks.
So my website is www.magentapixie.com. And then if you go on there, you'll see a list of all the places I am on social media. I now have a group on the Bookface, and you can also follow me on Telegram. I have a page on Telegram and Instagram.
Thanks,
as well.
Jason. Yes.
Oh, no problem. And then Laura, and then your thing is this Saturday, correct? Your Cosmic Gaia, your Q&A.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can it's on the homepage. You can just click on the picture.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank
And
you.
what about you? Where do we find you, Jason?
Oh, I'm on Twitter. I'm not a big like a YouTube fan where because I'll just go on other shows, but I need structure, so I prefer to go on other people's podcasts, and because they'll give me the questions that I'll push back that will test myself into giving answers that others could actually learn from. So other than that, I mean, I just ramble on for hours and hours and hours. So that's
he's
just,
on,
that's
he's
just
on Twitter. We're on every Thursday night, and
Facebook also, because I got deep for
Facebook.
Twitter. I got 5 days left.
He's in jail. We're with Twitter right now. Everyone's contacting me saying, how come Jason's not posting? He's in Twitter jail. I didn't even know there was a Twitter jail, but he's in Twitter jail right now. But he's all over. He's on a bunch of different podcasts and stuff. But and then tonight we'll be back at 7. At 8:30, I'm actually interviewing Roger Richards, who I know Laura just had him on last week. I've had him on the books for like 8 weeks. I'm so excited about this because I love the movie. If you haven't seen 1,000 Pieces, and tomorrow I'll have what's his name? Sean Stone on tomorrow too. So Oliver Stone's son, really great guy. He's a director and has his own huge, creative powers of what he's doing too. So I love you guys. Swiftfire.org is my website. And I hope to see you guys around. You guys can follow me on all this stuff too. Definitely get my newsletter. Go to the newsletters for everybody too, because we don't know. And I hope they'll do away with this 230 situation really quick. Matter of fact, it's 232. So let's just say that it's over. And this is going to be no big deal. And we'll be able to get our freedom back to speak and not have to do code. But you guys have a great day. Thank you so much, Magenta, Laura, Jason. I love all of you so much and love all your people. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.